Hi everyone, here is TeckyTalkAutomation and I'm Roberto Coccia, and today we will set up Cypress with TypeScript totally from scratch. And to have an order, a sense of order, I will go through it with ChatGPT for the command to run. Generally, to set up a project, you would use the documentation and go to the getting started part of the documentation. By the way, this is the channel, my channel. Why not subscribe, like, comment? This will help to get the channel known, help people to learn Playwright, Cypress, Selenium, automation testing, top-notch knowledge in automation testing that how you will not get anywhere else at all, only here. So stick with me and let's go through it. First of all, as you can see, what you need to do is to create a project. So you need to create a folder on your PC in a place you prefer. That can be the desktop or can be anywhere else. And you have to cd into it. If you know the command line, cd and the path to the folder you created. And then you need to open with the Visual Studio Code, with whatever editor you're using. For example, that I like to handle a lot AI coding tools, I'm using Try here, and we'll go with that. But you can use Visual Studio Code. So what we will do is to open the folder Cypress TypeScript, which I already created. And here I already set up the project, but let's go step by step. So what we needed to do is to do npm init. Why? So here, if you click here and you write you did the cd to the path where you created the folder, which you want to use, you will not have these files. You can cd into, for example, Cypress TypeScript. You can cd into this path, cd, and you then copy and paste the path. In my case was this, and you will be in that path inside your ID. And you can run, as I said, npm init. That's why I already did this, so I will not press enter for some reason. Okay, but what it did at the beginning is to create this package.json file. So there was only this package file after I did this command. Second thing is to install Cypress with TypeScript. So if you copy and paste this into Try or Visual Studio Code, they all work the same way. The coding IDE, which I already did, by the way, it will this time install other files inside the package lock.json. Basically, it will install within your project Cypress and TypeScript. Then you set up the types for Cypress, so that it will not give you an error when you run commands. So you need to run npm install --save dev as it is written here. Let's zoom more. You run this command npm install --save dev hot types Cypress, and then you do the same thing. You press enter, then you run npx tsc init to make sure to test that the TypeScript works correctly, the types work correctly, and then you can run the project and you can run the test with the npx Cypress open, which this is something you have to memorize because you will use very often to run tests. So if I now, for example, run the test here, it will start an interface which will allow me to run the test. Will set up how the test run will be applied. It's telling me what are the new features, the CI origin and CI session features. You need to select end-to-end testing. I need to select the configuration file, what will be, which will be this one. Well, it's already set up, so you can just continue. It's done automatically based on your project. Now you need to choose the browser. In my case, it's Chrome, and you can start end-to-end testing. So now you can or scaffold the example specs, which automatically is created for you, or create a new spec. You can create a new spec and or scaffold example one, which is already inside when you install Cypress. We're using Cypress this time. And here you see that are all the tests within the Cypress end-to-end part. So this is basically what was here, Cypress end-to-end. I created a different scaffolding, which I will show you in a sec. By the way, if you want to instead set a different one, you select the other option instead the example file to run the test you wish. So as I was mentioning initially, before maybe you saw other file which I deleted. Well, when you were installing step by step the installation process of Cypress, you were getting, when you install Cypress, this file and other, which I created myself, but you should have ignored. You should have just used that specific command I gave. Now you should get somewhere with these files. Inside the when installed Cypress and TypeScript, you might have saw displaying this Cypress. Inside this, by default, Cypress already creates for you a scaffolding, which is something important to create when you create a Cypress framework from scratch. In fact, if we go back to our instructions, you should have a download, an end-to-end file with test pages, the fixture file, the support file, the screenshot, and video. So let's see if we have something similar to our project. So we have the download, the end-to-end, we have the fixture, we have the support with the custom commands. We probably are missing something which we could create in the root, which is the screenshot and video. So especially when we fail a test, we probably want to record a video. We check in a different video how to that can be handled. It's not the purpose of this video, which is to set up Cypress and to run our first test. But by the way, and to go through as long as we can here, but we're following now closer the scaffolding advices. The only thing that is missing here probably is the page object model where we will need to put it. So let's add that to the current scaffolding. So in Cypress, we could add another folder called page or POM. I like more POM, which stands for page object model. And we have completed the scaffolding. Now, next, let's have a look. We set up the config file. I copy pasted this to be faster to the ts config in here. You can do the same. Just pause the video if you want to copy. Take your time and let me know if you want to add this in the description. And then let's go back. We have some commands how to run the test. So as I mentioned, Cypress already gives us a preparation suite of tests already done, which is this, for example, the to-do CI, which is testing a specific URL, CIVs. As you can see, we have the reference to Cypress, which is something you need to put in TypeScript. Then we have the describe method, which is something you need to put to give a description of what test you want to start. So it's something you put at the beginning. So here we have the description of the test that for now is just an example, and which returns the logic of the test. Here we have annotation, which stands for before even starting the test, perform this action, which is in this case to visit a URL website. So CI is the method of Cypress that starts an action, which in this case is visit, but can be many other actions, which we will see very soon on our list of locator and methods that are possible to use. All the steps, single steps, instead, you will have to use not the describe, but inside the describe, you can use the notation, which is the before all, before each, and after all, which we'll discuss in a separate moment what it is. Let me know in the comment if you want to have a lesson about it. And then the single step that you have to do will go all through different IT which with a description with the same logic, which returns the action of the test. And as you can see, an arrow function and the actions and etc. etc. The second step, that is another action, and then probably the third, the fourth, etc. etc. As many action as we wish. Cypress interface. So you choose as we did before, and we get now ready to the right place, and we choose the to do, which was the file we were looking at, and this will start testing in Cypress file for the way the code was written. We will rewrite the code from scratch, but just to show you how to run the first test case, this is how it is done. And if you did, well done, you run the first test. And now we will run a new test, which is instead done from scratch. As you can see, it all passed. You can click, you can do a time traveling to each action you did. And this is very useful tool to debug test which might fail. This is something very good feature that Cypress has. And as you can see, what was written inside the IT items, which were can add new to do items, for example, can add to do items, as you can see, was the description inside the IT method. This is why they are very important and how they are also very useful to debug in an easier way your test that you run. Let's now start from scratch a new test so that we can start one from scratch. So we can call it tests. If you then want to write here all the live tests, you could also scaffold further with every single module have their separate set of tests that identify a module. But at the moment, because it's just a small tutorial, we will just go through test and inside create a file called example, or maybe we can call it exercise test dot cy dot ts or dot js. If you want on JavaScript, let's write js. Actually, let's write .ts. The naming convention of a Cypress file, as you can see from ChatGPT, advises that you should use the name of the file cy.ts or .cy.tsx, as you can see. So we will use something similar exactly as it is shown. So we will call instead the element example test .cy.ts. Okay, now we write the first test. Because what I want to convey to you is that you shouldn't know by memory necessarily everything what you need to write in code, but coding is like a tool to perform an action. You can start from the documentation to understand what you need to write. So, for example, I went to the documentation, core concept, introduction to Cypress, and introduction we have a starting point which you could copy. First of all, we can see we have to write the describe. Let's rewrite it in our code. So we have, once we created the file, we can create the describe method, open parentheses. We create, as we said, the description of the test in general, the overall description of the test, and we get return the arrow function of whatever will be the test. That's it. This is the start. And then try it advise us what to write, but as we said, we have inside the documentation the IT, which are the steps to follow. Step 1, login, step 2, etc., etc. All under IT. So IT, we can get pressing tab, the advice. We don't want this. We don't want this either at the moment. We can leave like this. We pressing tab to copy paste different times just because we will be writing different tests. So these are the test steps. We're putting now a comment, but generally it's not clean to write. It's not needed, but just to explain now, you might write here the annotation The annotations are a way to run specific actions before the steps, after the steps. They are hooks that allow us to perform specific logic in a specific moment during when we want to run our code. For example, if we want to run the before all annotation, which is even advised here, you can run the before each. With the before all is the before, basically before. As you can see here, we have all the annotations can be before each, after, and after each. It's not the purpose of the video, but just know they exist. For example, in this one, in this tutorial, we will just talk about before, because before even starting to follow the steps, we want to visit a specific page. So let's say which page we want to follow. Let's decide. We will actually use this documentation URL. So we'll copy this URL. I will go back to the test and I will do, let's zoom in a little bit better and let's do ci dot visit, and then between quotes we copy and paste, we paste that URL. So this will allow now to visit this specific URL. We can see here there is an error. Why there is the error? Because actually there is some syntax issue. We have some parentheses more than the required one. And when you remove them, the error is gone. And now we can see that the test works perfectly. If we run it, we will get to that page. Let's close. Let's start again. Let's this time run our test, example test, which is this one, and we see an error. So let's identify what is the issue. Is that we didn't import the describe and the IT method from Mocha, which is causing the error. So now, actually, if we go back, we close, we restart, and we run again, it should work. So let's see now. We get a different error, and let's identify. This is also actually a very good moment to start appreciating how to fix and troubleshoot issues. You need to check errors here. You could do two ways. One way is just to read and maybe you notice if there's an import issue. Way two, you could copy paste this to ChatGPT and help it troubleshoot. Also, that sometimes can help. I asked ChatGPT to identify if this error was related to an import done wrong or it was a TypeScript issue. Probably, and I noticed that it is actually better to identify the types and not to import the describe and IT and Mocha from Mocha, which is actually probably the wrong place where to identify. This is just done already outside the box for us. So what we'll do, I will delete this statement. Then first of all, we'll try to run again to see if the error just gone by doing that. And if not, I will add the types instead. This was enough. We didn't need an import. And as you can see, successfully, we visited the website as we wanted. You can click to the step to check what they do. And what we did here is to go to our test. And we can flag also the step we wish to get back to. And yes, we run our first test, even though it's very few. For lack of time, what we will do now is just perform a very simple action to check and test basic functionality of the test, which will be to go to the search bar here, to click to search for the word Hoover, and to get into that page. Then we will create a very basic page object model and run the test with it. And that will be the end of our first tutorial. By the way, to search, what you do when you go to a web page is to right click and go to inspect. This will allow you to view this icon that I'm hovering. If you click, then every element you will select will be hoverable. You can click to the element you're interested, and then you see that you will get the correspondent HTML file. to identify what you want to click. So you can see that we have a class. Sometime when to identify you as unique some element, and if you can't identify by text, etc., in other ways, you might want to add a test, a CI test ID, a data test ID. Otherwise, you can get by text or you can get by other ways, okay, by locators that you feel are unique. But generally, you can get by text, by role, by locators. Use the best practice, and to check what is the best practice, I always advise you to read very well the documentation of Cypress. So here, as you can see, we have the text and we have the class. Let's check how to set this locator in both ways. While if you followed Playwright to get a text, you simply have a get by page.get by text method. Here in Cypress is a bit different. You need to select the locator probably by class, and then you can give the input that should contain a specific text. For example, here we have a class which is hidden inline. You can go copy this locator, go back to your file. Probably we can write it here. This will be go to the Hoover page. So what we do here is to go to ci.get, and now what we will do between is to insert a dot, which is the indicate the class, and we add a dot in between to set that. Otherwise, would not work if we just add just like this the element get dot hidden. This is another class separated as a inline, and dot contain the word, which is the word we can also identify in the same way from here. So we can copy from here, search. We can even just write the word search without the other symbols. Now we can write dot click because we want to click to it, or simply we can click, let's click it first, then let's see what would happen when we click, we get this model. So we cannot fill yet. So now we can set where we want to fill the data, which is this input. So we have a class, we have an area autocomplete, area labeled by, we have different way to get this element. You need to choose the one that is most unchangeable, more reliable. I would say we have the ID, we could get the ID. So let's take it. Let's go back to our test. Let's do CI dot to get the ID into right hashtag and doc search input. Type Hoover, it is already advised by the AI, but that's the way you type an element. In Playwright, you would use fill, and well, this changed for every framework, but the concept is the same. Let's stop here and let's see if this works. We can close and rerun the test and view what is happening. There is an error. Probably it seems like it open a pop-up before even getting to, we should accept it before even continuing. So what we can do is to inspect that element, to the accept all, and we can click to accept all. You can actually right away get by text, or like a Playwright. So that was a memory issue. Actually, you can do CI that contains right away to check the text. So here you could also use, but we have an input which should contain the word search box. So what we'll do, we'll do input that contains the word search docs. Let's just do that. But we were searching something different. We were resolving the issue of the error. So let's go back, let's run, let's get back the error, which now I failed to get it. Okay, now we can inspect. Let's click where before it failed the test. Let's inspect, let's check where the problem was. So probably we need to click one step further where we can get the accept all. So it's a button which contains accept all. Let's go back to our test, and now we can, before all of this, we can do CI that contains, then we write the tag element, which is the button that contains the word accept all, and we can click into it. So let's see if that is able to solve the problem. Let's run the test again. It did, it closed. Now it is failing. For which reason? Let's have a look. So it click here, then it is searching for our search bar, expect to find element, but never found it. So it couldn't find this element. Let's discover the reason, actually inspecting this element to see if actually there is a dynamic issue. Actually there is, probably called it in a wrong way. So the error now was because we had the escape character, because we have here colon, we should add escape character into it to make it work. Actually it's a backslash character. We can add it in this way to make it work, or we could simply write the name of the tags, which was the span contains, and write contains search. In this case, yes, the span contains search. So let's go back here. Let's save the change. Let's view if that changes. It will automatically run the test. Now it is passing that part because now the locator is correct and the test passed. You can go through what the test did to check better and to analyze every single step. This is called time traveling. And we could actually go through to do a page object model, but we will stop now. We will stop here for now. Hope this was useful. It was basically very basic step to get started with Cypress with TypeScript from scratch. Let me know in the comment what you needed, but just to know that you need to describe the annotation and IT identify what is at a step, how it is needed to be written at a step. For the rest, you can check what are the locators that Cypress provide to us, which you can use different methods like the visit to visit a page, the get to get specific elements that can be tags, can be an attribute, can be an ID, can be a class, etc., can be an XPath, and many other ways. You can we use the type to write a specific test in an input. So you can get an input and write and type a text. You can click an element. If you have a select tag, then you can, for example, in a drop down, you could select the value with the select method as it is shown here. You can, even if you have a checkbox, a type checkbox, Cypress allow you to use the check also element. And you can even check an element which contains a specific value, which is even more useful. Then you have the assertions, something very important, which is basically you want to check that an element is visible, have text, specific which text has, contain partially an element, have a specific class, have an attribute, have length. You can check different actions also to verify specific elements. We can go through better later. This is just very quick starting point. We have different weights in Cypress, an implicit and explicit weight. The explicit, when we want to write specifically how long we want to wait, no matter what action, if the action take less to perform it. So we're forcing to wait for 1 second, like in this case. We use generally, preferably, assertions to do implicit waits so that we can run faster and more performantly the test. We have advanced selectors. We will not go through them again now, but we will have a separate lessons potentially. Let me know if you want to go through a specific argument. Potentially next lesson would be to go through the page object model or simply to go through more locators with Cypress, and then eventually the page object model and how to apply it in Cypress. By the way, if you look at the video that we show somewhere here in the end, we went through page object model in Playwright, the concept is similar, but anyway, here it is shown that how you could go through it. You could either write a private selector which contain all the elements. You could either also write a constructor which inside contains all the locators, and then you can call them in the methods inside. And here is shown also how to use it within the test. Don't worry if this seems a lot, it's totally okay. Have a coffee, and then we will go through it anyway in future, if and only if you write so in the comments and subscribe the channel, because obviously it will show me that you wish to get this further lesson in Cypress. And let me know if you have any specific question. I will respond to all the questions that you will ask. So subscribe, and see you in the next video.